Welcome to Boise, Idaho, the capital of the Gem State, and is one of the most booming cities in the United States. Having been a city of under 75,000 people even in 1970 to 235,000 today, as we discussed with Greenville and Fayetteville, North Carolina, that any city that saw most of its development happen post-urban renewal era seriously suffered for it with bad urbanism and lackluster urban cores. And Boise was no exception, with endlessly sprawling suburbs and a mostly featureless downtown. However, as Boise has been exploding in population and popularity, particularly amongst young people, Boise has done the right thing and has focused a lot of their efforts in improving and maximizing downtown and the immediate surrounding neighborhoods with a bevy of mixed-use and multifamily developments, street improvements, and a completely reformed zoning code. So much of this has come in the last decade or so under the Blueprint Boise Master Plan, with the CCDC, Capital City Development Corporation, engaging in some major infrastructural improvements. While architecturally speaking, there are a lot more misses and hits in my book, what is great to see is just how quickly Boise is transforming itself into a proper city, and hopefully one that is a lot less car dependent and provides a high quality of life. If we were to go through all the projects that have been completed over the last 10 years, we'd be here all day. But trust me when I say that a lot has been done, but that there is so much more to look forward to in the near future. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look at all the ongoing projects in Boise.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the video, be sure to drop a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more content like this.
First, there's the major renovations taking place in Ann Morrison Park, a huge park on the southern side of the Boise River that runs right through the heart of the city. The renovations will include new and improved sports facilities and walkways, as well as new features like the new wetland, a small beach right on the river, and a new pedestrian entrance connecting the park to the Depot Bench neighborhood. Boise State University is to the east of the park, but sandwiched between them is the Lusk District that was only recently even a neighborhood. Looking back just 15 years ago, you'll see that this was an industrial area, but given its prime location between Morrison Park, downtown, and the university, this neighborhood inevitably has been developing and living up to its potential. The most recent addition is Uncommon Boise, which is hundreds of units and amenities dedicated to student housing, replacing surface parking and an office building. Coming soon will be the Capital Student Housing Project, which features 91 residential units as well as ground floor retail, replacing a Pizza Hut and its surface parking lot. But in the works to replace this large block that's made up of surface parking, single-use office buildings, and these low-lying apartments is the massive, mixed-use, 472-unit Boise Capital Campus Project, which will include residential, retail, and office space, as well as pedestrian alleys that break up the block. The next area we'll look at is the West End neighborhood, which is directly west of downtown, as its name suggests, and also historically had been an industrial area, particularly between Main Street and Highway 26. But this is also rapidly changing, as this area is only about a mile away from the heart of downtown. First up, replacing this budget motel and this sprawling car rental facility will be the mixed-use 271-unit local Fairview, featuring a pocket park and courtyard space, right across the street from the brand new St. Luke's Children's Orthopedic Hospital. Across the street from local Fairview, on the southwest corner of Fairview Avenue and Shoreline Drive, will be two major projects. The first is the 358-unit 27th and Fairview apartments with retail and office space. The second, tucked behind 27th and Fairview, is the Fletcher, which will also be mixed use and offer retail space as well as 169 residential units. The northwestern block of Shoreline and Fairview has been largely undeveloped for decades now, but recently had its block split up with an extension of 28th Street and now has a project slated for each sector. On the eastern sector will be the 80-unit The Fitch Apartments, and on the western sector will be the grand Whitewater and Main project that features mixed-use buildings with hundreds of residential units, retail, and a grocery store as the project's anchor, as well as public space. Though it must be said that development on this particular plot has not been exactly smooth sailing, with multiple design concept changes and delays. Across the street northwest of there, and directly adjacent to Quinn Park and its beautiful clock tower lake, is this very large, long abandoned lot. But this will be the future home of the CWI Whitewater Village, a mixed-use community college campus featuring 300 housing units, retail, public space, and park space right up along the Boise River. Architecture aside, you have to admire the ambition of these plans. Moving slightly east into West Downtown, and we have some more projects. The first is actually this beautiful new fire station that is a definite improvement over the old one, and apparently they built this with the idea of also building housing on the other side of the plot. Very nice. A few blocks north of there, we have the very recently completed The Martha, with its 45 housing units, replacing a surface parking lot and fitting right into the neighborhood. You also have the 22-unit Travis condos just a couple of blocks north, replacing this much less efficient building. And on 16th and State Streets, replacing this gas station, will be this mixed-use 110-unit building. And with that, we can finally move into the downtown, which has a whole host of projects. But before we get into any of these buildings, there is a lot of street improvement happening here too. Most notable is probably Grove Street. Grove Street will see the introduction of benches, wider sidewalks, raised crosswalks, and increased pedestrian lighting, as well as a neat repaving job, if I must say so. Fulton Street in southern downtown, as well as 11th Street, also saw similar improvements. 11th Street is particularly interesting as this surface parking lot was converted into a public plaza. 8th Street, a retail hotspot in the very center of downtown, will also have a 2-block stretch be permanently closed to cars. Alright, onto the buildings. Firstly, in the southwestern part of downtown, replacing these low-lying apartments will be the 130-unit mixed-use Riverline Apartments. Next, moving a few blocks eastward, will be the 8th and River Project, a mixed-use building with 169 residential units, replacing this warehouse. From here, we move east to the strip between Myrtle Street and Front Street, right alongside the other prominent downtown park, Davis Park, which has already seen a few large developments. First, we have the 209-unit mixed-use Ovation Project that replaces this single-use building. Next, there's the 44-unit The London, which is 19 stories, as this building will be home to luxury condos rather than apartments. This building replaces the surface parking lot. Next is the Saltbox development, replacing what was once single-family homes with 280 residential units, a hotel, retail, and a plaza. And then we have the 174-unit mixed-use Jules on 3rd project, replacing surface parking and single-family homes. Moving into the downtown center, we have the mixed-use 100-unit The Bannock, replacing a single-use office building and a surface lot. Back to Grove Street, we have 2 adjacent projects, the Lucy and Thomas Logan, which have a combined 174 units and are replacing a surface parking lot. Also on Grove Street is the AC Hotel and Elements Apartments project, replacing this large surface lot with a hotel and 271 housing units. Right across the street from there is my favorite of all these projects, aesthetically speaking, being the Hotel Renegade. But right across the street from the hotel is another attractive new project, that being the 305-unit mixed-use Broadstone Saratoga Apartments, which also features a courtyard, all this replacing, you guessed it, mostly surface parking. Another neat-looking project is the replacing of the old and ugly Idaho Wheat Commission building with this new one that looks quite beautiful and also includes ground floor retail. And the last project is both the biggest in terms of number of units, but also in controversy. The Catbed YMCA project was due to replace surface lots and single-use buildings with a new YMCA building, as well as public plazas, retail space, pedestrian alleys, and a whopping 626 housing units spread out over multiple blocks. The project failed to materialize after years of back and forth due to lack of funds and, quote, market conditions. However, the one building with the new YMCA is still looking to get built, and perhaps the rest will be resurrected and brought back into the picture at some point in the future. While I'm sure I missed a few projects, as I always do, as I hope you can all see, Boise is undergoing a rapid transformation, and is another example of a booming US city that is now trying to maximize its infill development, and less so its sprawling development that had dominated construction for the last several decades. But even with all these projects, there is so much potential left for Boise to exploit between surface lots, single-use buildings, and roads in need of improvement, as well as, of course, improved public transit. But what's pretty cool is that the city of Boise is apparently pushing for the return of long-distance rail service, and even has flirted with the idea of a light rail and downtown streetcar system for some years now. So let's see what happens on that front. But as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
And now a shout out to my incredible supporters on Patreon: Sven Weisbrod, Guy Courtois, Grandpa Allen, Jean Baptista, Ruben Hansen, James Whale, Michael Goldman, Ulysses Arnold, Ehsan Mirza, Joseph, Roach, Eric Martz, Simon Kendrick, Fortunate Calf, VJ Mari,
Jerome Frolich,
Glenn Myers, and my dad.